Hello everybody and welcome back, where today I'm going to be talking you through some PSVR2 news from the past couple of days. Now this isn't going to be too intensive and long because there isn't that much to talk about, but there are a couple of things that are quite important that you may have missed out on. Before we get into it, only 25% you are subscribed, so please feel free to sub to the channel if you'd like to support the content, and thank you to our patrons and members who are all on screen right now. With that being said, let's talk PSVR2 news. First and foremost, we have an interesting development on the PCVR front for PSVR2. Now, I myself use my PSVR2 as a PCVR headset, and it seems that with the modders on PC, they managed to get eye tracking working on games like VR chat. Now, they had this working on an avatar in VR chat so that the eyes tracked where you were looking, and this is quite an important thing for some VR chat players. I genuinely know quite a few who use a lot of tracking features like this to fully immerse themselves into VR chat environments. It's the closest thing we have to a real metaverse at this point, so the more immersion, the better. So it's cool to see that eye tracking is finally getting a little bit of time to shine over on the PC side of things. Now, this isn't officially supported by Sony or anything like that. I wish they would do that, but they haven't. Before the PC adapter launched, I was hoping that they can make use of eye track foveated rendering to maybe boost some PC performance over on the Steam VR side of things, but that never happened, unfortunately, and I don't think it will, even with these developments. However, it does mean that in certain games that will be compatible with this, you'll be able to, say, download the modding tools and be able to do it yourself, which would be very good. Whether or not these modders can unlock eye track foveated rendering, I'm not going to hold my breath on that, but it is cool they've managed to get this fundamental eye tracked feature going for games like VR chat, where it's an immersion thing rather than a performance thing like foveated rendering is. Next up, Tunemax, the developers of 90s Extreme Skiing and Snow Scout, and also Rainbow Reactor Fusion, are working on a multiplayer mode for 90s Extreme Skiing. Now, I've actually known about this for a little while now, but they've actually announced it on their YouTube channel, and they go into detail saying that it's a 4v4 multiplayer mode for the game, which includes full body avatars. Now, it's unclear whether this will actually release. I'm assuming it will, since they poured so much time and effort into it, but if you want to help them kind of get this even further, go and pick up the game. I really enjoy 90s Extreme Skiing and also Snow Scout. They're very different games, even though they may look similar on the surface. Snow Scout is more of a slow-paced story game where you kind of figure out a little bit more about yourself, and you open a ski resort before the season begins, and you have a person you're speaking to over the radio. It's a nice little game with some good skiing mechanics in there as well, whereas 90s Extreme Skiing is what it says on the tin. It's a far more intense skiing game where you're really smashing it down those mountains, and it's a lot of fun, but it's a bit more challenging and more intense on the VR side of things. So this will be a mode for 90s Extreme Skiing, and I think that's really cool. Having a mode like this is something that I kind of thought would be awesome before the game launched, but it was a little bit out their reach as a dev team, just due to wanting to get the game out there and funding and stuff like that. But it's good to see that they're working on this now. It could be a really cool feature, get some friends together and race down the mountain courses at the same time. So can't wait to see that if it does eventually get implemented, which hopefully it will. We also have news from the developer of the Obsessive Shadow. Now, the trailer you're seeing on screen now is for the game. It's a little bit old though, this trailer, so just keep that in mind. Some things have been improved, but it's a game where you're home alone and you're having to basically avoid this creepy shadow man that's trying to get you, is the main gist of things. And what's a little bit strange to me here is that I assume that the developer of this game is already making a PSVR2 port, but it seems that they're getting a PSVR2 dev kit soon. So I don't know whether they've started work on the port yet or not. I assume they haven't, since obviously they haven't got the dev kit, but hopefully that means they start soon and can get it over to the platform, because little indie games like this can sometimes shine, and hopefully this is a good one. We also got news that Maestro is coming to PSVR2 next month. Now, this is an orchestra game which you conduct with either controllers or with your hands, which is very exciting. Just like Waltz of the Wizard, you'll be able to use hand tracking, set your controllers aside, put them away, you don't need them, and you'll be able to conduct an orchestra just with your fingers. Now, this is a cool thing on its own, but a lot of DLC is included with this game. I'm assuming all of the DLC is coming over to PSVR2 from what I've heard, but the latest one is actually Duel of the Fates from Star Wars Episode 1, which is really cool. So there's a lot of songs here like that, which are exciting, like Bridge of Khazad-dûm from Lord of the Rings, some of the tracks from Pirates of the Caribbean, and I think a couple from Game of Thrones. There's a lot in here in the DLCs, and that's kind of what got me excited for this, rather than the classical music, which is still nice, of course, but these tracks I think will be really cool, and to do this with hand tracking is awesome, so I'm excited for this. And finally, we have another delay, unfortunately, and this one is for Zombie Army VR. Now, I did see this one coming a couple days ago. Zombie Army has already been hit with a delay not too long ago, and unfortunately, here we are again. It got up to yesterday and we still didn't have keys, and the game is coming out in like 3 days, so I just thought this probably isn't going to happen, and lo and behold, here we are. This game has had a bit of a strange journey. It started off with some lukewarm reception at the first hands-on session with a couple of creators, and since then they've gone back and they've changed a bunch of stuff, they've improved a bunch of stuff. I'm just hoping it's polished. I'm a little bit scared now that it's been delayed a couple of times and how close we got to that kind of embargo date without anything, and I don't know, it was a little bit of a weird one, but I'm hoping they get it out on time and it's polished is the main thing. There have been a couple launches this year that could have been absolutely incredible, but the port quality let it down, and I hope that isn't the case for Zombie Army. The new date though is June 12th, and again, they need to kind of stick the landing on this one because it's got a player base on the flat screen that likes the franchise. So if we can get them on board with a good VR game, that's more VR headsets sold, more people playing VR, which is what we want at the end of the day. But I'll let you know what I think of the game when I get my hands on it next month. Anyway, that'll be all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.